today I have some additional reading material. Anybody that would like some, just holler at me after Mass, and I'll be more than happy to share it with you. Today I'm going to talk about the sacrament. Since, then, in the persons mentioned before, I have with the eyes of faith looked upon your whole community and have come to love it. I exhort you to strive to do all things in harmony with God. The bishop is to preside in the place of God, while the presbyters are to function as the council of the apostles. And the deacons, who are most dear to me, are entrusted with the ministry of Jesus Christ, who before time began was with the Father, and it has at last appeared. Conform yourselves then, all of you, to God's ways, and respect one another, and let no one regard his neighbor with the eyes of flesh, but love one another at all times in Jesus Christ. Let there be nothing among you tending to divide you, but be united with the bishop and those who preside, serving at once as a pattern and a lesson of incorruptibility. Ignatius of Antioch, who was consecrated bishop by St. Peter, wrote this in his letter to the Church of Magnesia while he was on his way to be martyred, somewhere between 98 and 117 AD. This illustrates that the structure of our church was clearly established by that time. Although the terms bishop, priest, and deacon were somewhat fluid in the apostolic age, by the beginning of the 2nd century they had achieved the fixed form in which they are used today to designate the three offices, whose functions are clearly distinct in the New Testament. Deacons, priests, and bishops are called by Jesus, who told his apostles in John chapter 15, "You did not choose me, but I chose and appointed you." This is why our catechism tells us, no one has the right to receive the sacrament of holy orders. Indeed, no one claims this office for himself. He is called by God. You might recall from your catechism classes that a sacrament is an outward sign instituted by Christ to give grace. 3 of the 7 sacraments leave an indelible mark and therefore are only received once and cannot be removed. These are baptism, confirmation, and holy orders. As you have probably heard before, once a priest, always a priest. 2 of our 7 sacraments are of vocation, holy orders and matrimony. The sacrament of holy orders is the sacrament by which, through the authority of the Church, the imposition of a bishop's hands confers on a man the grace and spiritual power to celebrate the Church's sacraments. What seems to be a bone of contention many times is the declaration by our Church that ordination to the ministerial priesthood is reserved to men alone. The reasons are set forth in an apostolic letter from John Paul II on reserving priestly ordination to men alone, and the gist of it is that we continue the example of what Jesus himself said and did. The sacrament of holy orders is conferred in 3 ranks: bishops, priests, and deacons. Deacons receive the same sacrament, but only a bishop can attain its fullness. Deacons are ordained to preach, teach, and serve. They receive the faculties to baptize, witness and receive the vows of matrimony for the Church, conduct a funeral service, preach at Mass, and are ordinary ministers of Holy Communion. Priests receive the faculties to stand in persona Christi, that is, in the person of Christ, to consecrate the Eucharist, hear confessions and grant absolution, and anoint the sick, but do not have the faculty to confirm. This faculty must be delegated to them by their bishop, and each time it is only a one-time delegation, such as for the Easter Vigil. Bishops are given the task of shepherding many congregations that make up a diocese and appointing, ordaining, and disciplining priests and deacons. This brings us to apostolic succession. Early Christians had no doubt about how to determine the true teachings of Christ. The test was simple. Just trace the apostolic succession of the claimants. Apostolic succession is the line of bishops stretching back to the apostles. All over the world, all Catholic bishops are part of a lineage that goes back to the time of the apostles. So with the imposition of hands by a Catholic bishop, the grace received is truly traced back to Jesus Christ's charge to Peter in Matthew. And so I say to you, Peter, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. And I will end with a thought from St. Augustine in the year 397 that still rings true over 1,600 years later. There are many things which most properly can keep me in the Catholic Church's bosom. The unanimity of peoples and nations keeps me here. Her authority, inaugurated in miracles, nourished by hope, augmented by love, and confirmed by her age, keeps me here. The succession of priests from the very seat of the Apostle Peter, to whom the Lord, after his resurrection, gave the charge of feeding his sheep, up to the present episcopate, keeps me here. And at last, the very name Catholic, which, not without reason, belongs to this church alone.